I had an interesting conversation with a client last week, and we begin to discuss the topic of a people strategy. And it really got me thinking. I think a lot of times organizations have a lot of strategies. We create strategic plans. We work with boards. We work with executive teams to have long-term strategies and plans in place that really help them focus on their what we call HPIs, or high priority items, and making sure that they have objectives and they have strategies behind those HPIs that move those things forward down to the everyday working environment, making sure that people are doing things that are moving those strategies in the right direction. But this people strategy topic really struck me. And I don't know if organizations really have a true people strategy. So I just thought about it for a little bit, and I just want to dump some thoughts out there and see if anything that resonates with you. So culture is just really a multitude of people. It's just a multitude of people working together that creates the everyday culture or working environment that allows the organization to move in a direction to get the results that they want, that helps them create success ultimately. But when it comes to people, when it comes to true focus, what are those elements of a people strategy that can be implemented that can help impact those results and create an even better culture, a culture that thrives, a culture that people really want to be a part of, a culture that attracts top talent? So I just took a couple notes, and I just wanted to walk you through a couple things that I believe must be present in a people strategy. The first thing is there has to be an insane belief that people drive results. Results don't drive people. You have to believe that if you can improve the performance of your people, it will impact results. If you don't buy into that, there are executives out there that just think that results drive people, and if they don't have the people that they need, they'll find the right people, and they really don't want to invest in their people. If that's somebody that's watching this on the other end of this video, you can probably just shut it off right now. But that insane belief really becomes your foundation and anchor document that if I can improve the performance of people, I can get the results that we need and create an environment where people thrive in. And really, if I'm looking at a people strategy, I'm really coming down to what am I doing when it comes to people to build the basics, which we talk about all the time. How am I improving strong working relationships? How am I building trust, respect, rapport? How am I creating engagement? How am I creating an opportunity mindset with my people? I get to do these things, not an obligation mindset. I have to do these things. And how am I creating fulfillment? Those are things that you hear me say all the time. How am I creating authentic and sincere value and impact where people understand the things that they're doing and how it really impacts and has a greater good, or they become an asset to what it is they're doing? People feel good when they know that they're doing good. And so how am I doing those things? Those are the basic foundations. Now, how do I get into that? How do I leverage a people strategy that helps me get into that? Well, it really is a macro, micro viewpoint. So macro, I have to think about what am I trying to accomplish with the organization. But micro, and this is where it gets challenging, and this is why people don't always do it, because micro, it really comes down to an individualized plan and process that allows you to connect with your people. I'm not saying you have to do it with all of your people, but how do you leverage the talent around you? How do you leverage your leaders to really understand the individual? And if we understand the individual, it creates a greater impact on the whole, or the macro, if you will. It's almost like, to me, it's like a puzzle piece, right? Each person is a puzzle piece. And I have to understand that puzzle piece from two angles. One, how do I maximize the assets that puzzle piece brings? But two, how do I help that puzzle piece connect into the bigger picture that actually forms the picture and completes the picture? If you look at a puzzle, sometimes you have 4 or 5 pieces missing, you don't have a complete picture. So how do I put a spotlight on the individual? What are some things that I can do to really understand where that individual is coming from that can allow me to leverage that and make that person an even greater asset that fits into the whole, if you will? So here are a couple things. One, I have to understand their GCGs. I have to understand, truly, authentically, and sincerely, understand their goals, how they feel they contribute. What are some of the areas they want to grow? How can I really tap into that? And as their leader, or as somebody that works with them, how can I help them move in a path that is right for them. I'm looking for win-win-win situations, right? If I can create a win for them, I can create a win for the organization. Ultimately, I win, and it makes my life easier. Not easy, but easier. So how am I really tapping in to those goals, the way that they contribute, and the ways they want to grow, and how am I crafting plans that are allowing them to live into that? I also want to look at the holistic person. So I want to look at their wins, right? What are their wants? What are their interests? What are their needs? What do they think they need to be successful in the role that they're in? What do they want out of this role or this career? What are they interested in? How can I help tap into those things that allow them to show up better and create better engagement and better fulfillment because I'm creating a win for them? People are inherently selfish. We do things for selfish reasons. A lot of times we do things for the fulfillment of us. And if I'm not getting that fulfillment, I'm not being as productive, as efficient, and as effective as I can in that role that sets up the greater good for a higher probability of success. So I don't want to understand their wants. I want to understand their interests. I want to understand their needs. I don't want to get too personal, but I have to really take a totality viewpoint. Work is not the only thing that they wake up for every single day. What are some things outside of work? What are some things that we can tap into that can connect? Some of you heard me say this before, but I'm not about a work-life balance. I'm about a work-life integration because I think it all integrates. How do I connect to the whole person and help understand how I can help them show up at their best to really be at their best? What are their expectations of me? I think we fail a lot of those times as a leader. What are some of those things that they expect of me? And are they realistic? Are they manageable? Are there things that I can live into? If not, how do I help reset those expectations? Because sometimes if they have expectations that aren't real, I'm probably going to disappoint them all the time. But how do I understand what their expectations are of me? And how do I live into that? How do I make sure that they understand that I am an asset, not a liability to what it is they're trying to accomplish in their role when they come to work every single day? Do they want to be a builder? Do they have career aspirations? Do they want to grow within this department or grow within this organization or ultimately run the organization? Do they have those aspirations? Are they willing to go above and beyond? Are they just a maintainer? Are they somebody who wants to do a really, really good job, but they're not willing to maybe go above and beyond? And that's okay too. We need good maintainers that are going to do a real proficient job for us, but I don't want to stress them out by adding too much to their plate. So where are they on that spectrum, and how can I make sure that I'm meeting them where they're at, not where I think they should be as we move forward? What's their energy? What are things that they do every single day that they enjoy doing, that they're good at, that they know it drives results? What are things that might be stuff for them? Things that drain energy, things that maybe they think somebody else should be doing. Maybe there's negative relationships that really hinder their mental focus. How can I help manage those things? How can I help maybe create those things or take those things that are energy for them and help that show up more from a percentage standpoint? Maybe if I get them to do 70% of the things that they're doing is energy for them. They're good at it. They enjoy doing it. It drives value. It drives results. It creates momentum. It creates motivation. It's more engagement, more fulfillment. There's always a suck factor in everything that you do. My buddy Adam Carroll always used to tell me that. And so some of the things that are stuff, how do I manage them? Are there things that we could potentially take off their plate? Are there things that maybe we just have to get our head wrapped around and change our attitude and they have to do? What are those things that I can really tap into? What you find is that sometimes, again, I'm looking at the individual, but sometimes when I look at the bigger pieces of the puzzle, sometimes somebody's energy is another person's stuff. And so how do I take maybe some of that stuff and maybe reallocate some of the time and resources and energy that people do that create, again, more opportunities for energy-driven activities that lead to even better results? Once I understand that, how do I create an individualized game plan? How do I look at how we set them up for the highest probability of success? So once I understand the person from a holistic standpoint, how do we put a realistic game plan in place that allows for that win-win-win situation to show up? Win for them, win for the organization, a win for me ultimately. And then how do I implement that game plan? How do I make sure that that game plan is not just theory, but it's actually implemented? It goes from ideas to I dids, right? It takes that action. And then how do I stay focused on a never-ending journey? How do I make sure that it's a constant CANI, right? Constant and never-ending improvement. What am I doing to make sure that we're moving that game plan forward, that we're taking the right steps, that we're making progress, that we're tracking results, that we help them see how we're helping create more fulfillment for them, that creates a higher likelihood that when they come through those doors, they enjoy coming through those doors. Not all the time, not Disney World, not Cloud9, not that the world's perfect, but how am I creating an environment or a culture that people love to come to? It really is about the individualized focus to create that people strategy that creates the macro that allows us to drive even better results. And then finally, how am I creating checkpoints? How am I creating events to make sure that that's still the right game plan for them? You know, some people's aspirations at 25 are not their aspirations at 35. Sometimes there's life events that happen that change people's outlook or perspective about their role, about their job, about their career. How am I just keeping a pulse? Once we create the game plan, I have to make sure it continues to be the right game plan. And if not, how do I make mid-course adjustments? As life events happen in their life, sometimes motivations change within their career. I have to be sensitive to that. I have to understand that. And I have to make sure that the game plan that we have currently is the right game plan that, again, creates the win-win-win situation. So that was a lot, but again, it just made me think when I was talking to our client last week about how can we help really take the larger picture and really break it down into the fragments and really get spotlight and really get micro and really make sure that every individual, whether there's 10 people in the organization or 15,000 people in the organization, how do we make sure that each person has an individualized game plan that is right for him or her, that helps them set themselves up for the highest probability of success, that ultimately creates the culture of really good people that drive even better results. If you want to take action today, we have created a digital download that you can literally download and act today to help you create your people strategy and begin implementing immediately. Check it out at thedesignleader.com. So think about it. Think about those things. Are those things missing in your organization? Are those things missing within your team, if that's the only thing you control? Are those things missing within your department or wherever you live within the organization, or maybe you sit at the top? Are those things missing, and what can you do? What are some things that you could do that could potentially create people strategies that help make things easier to create efficiencies and effectiveness to drive even better results? As always, all this is theory unless we take action. So think about those things, and if there's something that you can act on, do it, and do it today. Best of luck.